If it's the day after Labor Day, it's the unofficial start of fall, kicking off the unofficial sprint to election night 2025. And even though it's an off year, there are key gubernatorial and mayoral races up for grabs. And all of it is being closely watched by both parties heading into next year's midterms. Today in the race for New Jersey governor, Republican Jack Ciattarelli is launching his first TV ad of the general election, trying to deflect Democrats' attempts to tie him to President Trump.
We all know it. New Jersey's a mess. And all Mikey Sherrill wants to talk about is President Trump. Come on. What does the president have to do with rising property taxes and higher electricity bills? New Jersey's a mess because out-of-touch politicians like Bill Murphy and Mikey Sherrill care more about pronouns and sanctuary cities than they do solving our problems.
And Democrat Mikey Sherrill is expected to launch her first general election ad tomorrow. And while Ciattarelli is attacking his opponent for leaning in on Trump, Virginia's Republican candidate for governor is taking a page directly from Trump's 2024 playbook. Republican Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl-Sears' campaign releasing a new digital ad today attacking Democrat Abigail Spanberger on the issue of transgender rights with a tagline saying, quote, "Spanberger is for they, them, not for us." NBC News national political correspondent Steve Kornacki joins me now from the big board with more on the key races to follow over the next 2 months. And Steve, Republicans sound optimistic about winning the New Jersey gubernatorial election. How realistic is that?
Yeah, let's take a look at these races, sort of the four. We'll get to this four, actually, sort of centerpiece races here in the fall of 25 and start on those governor's races. Now, look, it's Winsome Earl-Sears in Virginia and Jack Ciattarelli in New Jersey. These two Republicans each have two pretty big obstacles in their way. First is simply each one of them is running in a blue state. Donald Trump lost Virginia by about 6 points last year. So there's the partisan tide that Earl-Sears is up against. And then there's also the tide of history. 11 of the last 12 Virginia gubernatorial races have been won by the party that does not control the White House. It really seems that these off-year gubernatorial elections function, at least in part, as a referendum on the president. And Donald Trump's approval rating in Virginia, there was a poll out just a couple weeks ago that had him at about 40% approval in Virginia. So it's a blue state to start with. Trump's not that popular in Virginia, and it tends to be that the party that controls the White House struggles in Virginia gubernatorial elections. All of those obstacles for Earl-Sears. You see, this is that poll here, Roanoke poll from a couple weeks ago, that has her 7 points behind Abigail Spanberger. So, it's a competitive race, but you see here, to defy history here, Earl-Sears is going to have to find a way here, I think, to sort of alter how these things typically go in Virginia. That is true for Ciattarelli in New Jersey as well. Again, it's a blue state. Trump lost this state, and it also has that history of voting in the gubernatorial race for the party that doesn't control the White House. All of those advantages for Mikey Sherrill, a Democrat, all of those disadvantages for Ciattarelli. This is a Rutgers Eagleton Institute poll just about a week ago that had a 9-point advantage for Sherrill over Ciattarelli here. Now, the one thing Ciattarelli may have working in his favor that Earl-Sears does not have in Virginia is the governor of New Jersey now, Phil Murphy, is a Democrat. He's being term limited out. His popularity is, lukewarm at best, in the 40s in polling. And New Jersey also does not have a history of giving the same party the governorship 3 straight elections. That's what Sherrill, a Democrat, is trying to pull off here. So that maybe complicates it a little bit in New Jersey. Now, I said 4 marquee races this fall we're watching. The third one then would be the New York City mayoral election here, seeing the most recent poll. And honestly, this thing has sort of been stuck in the same place ever since the Democratic primary. Zoran Mamdani won that in a big upset. Andrew Cuomo is running as an independent. Eric Adams, the incumbent mayor, is an independent. Curtis Lee was the Republican. Mamdani, he's got plenty of baggage here. He's an avowed socialist. He's had some provocative pronouncements, to put it mildly. But the opposition to him is splintered, and there are profound political liabilities for all 3 of these opponents as well. So as long as the picture is kind of muddled here, and as long as these 3, particularly Adams and Cuomo, are as unpopular as they are, you can see Mamdani just kind of floats above it all right here by virtue of being the Democratic nominee in a very Democratic city. And then there's the fourth one we're keeping an eye on, and we weren't even expecting this to be an election at the start of the year. It is California. It is Gavin Newsom's attempt. He's going to need voter approval this November to to do it to blow up the congressional maps in California, to put more Democratic seats in there. He says he's doing this in response to Texas and their mid-decade gerrymandering on behalf of Republicans. So that's going to go to the voters this November. A poll came out that asked about this, that said the initial support at 48%. 32% opposition. You say maybe that's starting in a strong place for Newsom, but remember, not a Democrat-Republican race. This is a yes-no race, and yes is starting out under 50%. And the challenge for Newsom's opponents here is, can they just make enough arguments against this that get people to say, it's too much, it's easier to vote no. Sometimes that's how these referendums go. So there's volatility in this California race, I think, to a degree we don't see anywhere else, Gabe.
Well, Steve Kornacki, thank you.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.